Hey, and welcome to the Jessica Paul podcast. I'm your host, Jess Paul, actress, manifestation expert, and mindset coach. And I'm here to share with you all of my secrets on confidence, success, and the magic of manifestation. If you're ready to dive in deep and see more success in your career, more money in your bank account, and more love in your life, with a whole new level of freedom, then you're in the right place. I'm letting loose on everything you need to take back control of your life, up-level your mindset, and tap into your manifestation powers. I'm so excited that you're here. Hello, my spiritual besties. It is another episode of the JP podcast. I am back, here to help you up-level your mindset, take back control of your life, and tap into your manifestation powers, because we deserve to live a life that we freaking love. Welcome, everybody. So I'm super excited about today's episode because we've got another guest on. It has been a freaking age since I've had a guest on the podcast. Very excited to introduce her because we go into some really interesting things, all to do with breathwork and the science behind breathwork. And this is something I've spoken about a bit, something you may have heard about in the self-development community, but breathwork is such a powerful tool, guys. And we go in this episode. So I'm really excited for you guys to tap into it. I know you're going to love it. But before we get into all of that, I am going to give you a life update, as always. The sun is shining here in Manchester, guys. It has been for a while. I feel summer came around. And I am fucking loving it. I'm not going to lie. So, my life update for this week. I've just booked my trip to Barcelona. Freaking love that city. I am basically going to go and stay in a gorgeous villa in the countryside of Barcelona with all of my Spanish friends. I've got lots of Spanish friends because my best friend married a Spanish man. So we like to spend our time. She lives in Mallorca, so she lives in the Balearics, but we're going to Barcelona, which is where one of our friends lives, and it's his birthday. So we're just going to go and chill in the sun with around a pool and just in a gorgeous place. So, and also that trip, I basically manifested a lot of money off it. And again, this is just, sometimes you just got to keep your eyes open to the miracles, guys. I checked the flights for Barcelona at the time I'm going, and the prices were pretty high, because it's coming into summer, standard. And I was trying to figure out when the best time to book the flight was for. And anyway, I was looking at flights, and usually the flights will go up when you keep looking at them. Mine went down. Mine just kept going down. So I managed to get 80 quid off it. And I just thought, you know what? That's just a little nod from the universe to go and frickin' enjoy yourself, Jess. But a note on this as well, one of the things that I have been consciously manifesting for 2022 is more travel, just to get away more, just to go. If you're invited to a place, don't hold yourself back by fears of money. And this is, we could end up in a whole other money mindset conversation right now, but don't hold yourself back with fears of money, because the money's always going to flow back to you. The experiences you won't get again. And I have just been, my psychic teacher as well has been telling me that, you've got to travel, you've got to go out, you've got to connect with people, because that's where your miracles are forming. So, if you're invited out to places, understand that as well is, it's a nudge from the universe to be we're something big is going to manifest for you, but you've got to make the connections, you've got to do the thing, you've got to meet the people, you've got to go to the places to make it happen. So if you're holding yourself back out of fear of money or fear of time or fear of, just anything, then you aren't moving closer towards your manifestations. So that's just a note on that for you. For me, I've been consciously manifesting more travel this year because I just want to connect with more people, I want to connect with more places, and as again, when you're consciously manifesting it, it is going to flow to you, and it's going to flow to you easier than if you are living in fear. So, without further ado, let me introduce today's amazing guest onto the podcast. Today we have Leah Pardee with us. She is a breathwork guide and host of the Bare Naked Soul podcast. Her mission is to lead people to the magic of the present moment and free them from overthinking. Leah is also the author of Heal Your Shit Journal, love that, and a big believer in community. Leah runs a local meetup group and a thrift boutique. So guys, I'm super excited to bring Leah on, and I hope you'll enjoy the episode. As always, if you've enjoyed it, drop us a little tag on Instagram with any of your biggest takeaways. Go and follow Leah and see what she's up to. I'll tag all of the things in the show notes, and enjoy. So hey Lee, it's so nice to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. So Lee, as I've already introduced you, you are a breathwork guide. Really excited to dive into all things breathwork with you today because it's something I've done a lot myself. I've not like trained in it like you have, but I know how much it does help. But before we get into all of that juiciness, I want to start off with some quick fire questions so that some people can get to know you. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first question is, what is your zodiac sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Lovely. We were just saying beforehand, like you're not like super into the astrology stuff, but I started off with just knowing what my sun sign was, and then now I'm diving down a hole. But what the second question is, are you a morning or night person?
Definitely a morning person.
Okay,
well, I love a slow morning.
Love that. And of course, we're recording this time zone wise, it is 6 a.m. for you.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And what kind of like morning practices do you have?
So I just recently made the switch, which I never in a million years thought I would make, from coffee to no coffee. It just kind of happened intuitively. I just kind of decided not to want to be addicted to caffeine anymore and kind of have those ups and downs that come with that. So I slowly transitioned to tea. I was doing chai tea for a while, and I still sometimes drink it. But then recently I started doing the hot lemon water, which I always thought was maybe kind of like, oh, is there really any benefit to that? Or is it just like a woo-woo, like, oh, I have my hot lemon water thing? But I looked it up, and there's like actually tons of, science and health benefits to it, like proven health benefits. So I'm doing that now, and lovely. I just read in the morning. My first thing is I read, I drink my beverage, and I just like relax on the couch right now with blankets because it's like chilly where I live. Yeah. And then I do meditation and breath work. So those are like normally I do a breath work and then go into a meditation every morning. But I would say I do that 5 days a week, to be fair. And then after that, I normally will check my phone, right? Because I don't check my phone first thing in the morning. It's like a big, big no for me. And then I often do yoga as well, like kind of in that morning time. But yeah, it's like my favorite part of my life, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like such a beautiful morning routine. How long does that all take you when you do that?
Like 2 hours.
Yeah. What happens if you can't squeeze all that in? Do you have like a shortened version of it?
I mean, if I have like an early call, like this morning, I did my reading, I read some beautiful poetry book. And after this, I'll do my meditation and breath work and then kind of go about my day. So I'll normally just like fit it in whenever I can, if I need to.
Yeah, that's the same with me, really. I'm like, I've got certain rituals that I do, but if I know I can't do them in the morning, I don't get stressed out by it. I just kind of do them bits in the day if I can. Love that though. So the next question I have for you is, what is the coolest thing you've ever manifested?
Oh my gosh, this is such a hard question. I mean, my business for sure, definitely like quitting my corporate job and being able to pursue my passion full time, hands down would be the best. But something interesting that happened recently, I know you're an actor, so I thought that was kind of interesting because I always had like dreamed of being an actor and dreamed of being on TV and thought like maybe someday I'll like be in a commercial. And recently I manifested an opportunity to be in a TV commercial.
Oh my gosh.
And I, was it was like me getting in and out of a self-driving car and like had these props and the whole thing. And it was really cool. And it was funny because it was just like something I had always wanted to do. And then you just decide you're going to do it and you do it. And it's so amazing to see those things come to life when you apply the manifestation principles. And you really
I love that. Yeah. And what I love about that as well is that you say, you know, it's been a dream of yours, but it's not like you kind of went down, I'm assuming you've not gone down a route of like drama school and all of that stuff. And like, you never really thought, like, it wasn't like you trained in being an actor, but it still happened for you. And I think that's a really good point, because I coach a lot of actors and a lot of them kind of get stuck in this timeline thing where they go, I have to do this before I can do it. And actually, like, if you dream it and you decide it, it's done. And like, you can have whatever the fuck you want. So I love that you got a commercial. I also love that at the moment, because I recently shot a commercial as well, and a lot of my clients are getting commercials, and I just feel like there's some weird energy at the moment where we're all just we're all manifesting the same thing. I love it.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So okay, you were talking about reading. What is your favorite book or audiobook at the moment? It can either like be self-development or not, just like any book.
Yeah, I'm a huge Eckhart Tolle fan. So I love The Power of Now and A New Earth. I also love Michael A. Singer, The Untethered Soul, and Surrender Experiment. Yeah, I also just read Big Magic for the second time by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it's amazing. If anyone is like a creative, you know, or like an actor or writer or, you know, content creator for the internet, and you got to read it. It is like so perfect for like moving through the fear of it has to happen now and I need it now, and perfectionism and all of that. So good.
Love that. And I can link some of these in my show notes as well, so everybody can go and check them out. Okay, my final quick fire question for you then, Lee. What is the best advice that you have ever been given?
Oh man, best advice I've ever been given. I can't think of an exact like scenario where I was given advice, but I would definitely say anytime that I've been encouraged just to go for something when I've been afraid, that's always where the magic is, when you do the thing even though you're afraid.
Oh my God, yes. And I'm such a one for talking about taking aligned action. And I know that it's always in those moments where you're about to up level that if you do it then, even when it's really scary, that's where you manifest the biggest things. Yeah. So I totally agree with that. Amazing. Okay, well, they were the quick fire questions, Lee. So I want to dive straight into this interview today with you and basically just start off with your story and like kind of where you've come from and now to being this breathwork guide, and just a bit about your journey, really.
Yeah. So I did the college thing. After college, I started developing perfectionism, and maybe it had been there before, but it really started manifesting in like my career. So I became really, really obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder. And I mean, I was just voluntarily working like 10 to 12-hour days every day, skipping lunch, just going ham. I got into sales, and that was the perfect job for a perfectionist workaholic, someone who's addicted to validation. So I could hustle as hard as I wanted and get rewarded for it. So I did that. I got 4 promotions in 4 years. I rose to sales management, had a team. I was like 25, 26, had running a department, getting my MBA on the side, just full on. Like, I was like, I'm going to be a vice president of, sales at a company by like, 35, 40. Like I was just going for it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that track, except that for me, I had a ton of anxiety, I was just stressed out constantly. I was under so much pressure, self-imposed, as well as the job that I had was a ton of pressure. Just constantly, putting my morals to the side and my values to the side. And everything that was truly important was to the side because work was everything and my success was everything, and winning the like sales of the month plaques. And so I was living that world and studying all the books on mindset, but from a different lens, like very masculine, like sales management books and leadership books with the, you know, some mindset stuff. And through the sales journey, I became really interested in confidence, and I started to realize that I was teaching my sales team, you know, everyone was so afraid of rejection. And I was that way when I was starting in sales, and just so much rejection in that world. And you have to put yourself out there over and over. And I started to teach like this whole kind of concept around like just moving through that fear and knowing it's going to get you to more confidence and more resilience the more times you do it. And it just really, it taught me so much about life and ultimately manifestation, although I wasn't calling it that back then. And then I read the book The Secret. This is always like, this is just like what happened is I read the book The Secret. I don't know how I got my hands on that because I was so not into spirituality at the time. And it just changed everything for me to see this different perspective. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. So I started reading more books on spirituality, manifestation, listened to the podcast, got really into it. And I started a blog, like just a little baby blog side project. I wanted to teach on confidence and things I was applying in my career and mindset and law of attraction. And and it wasn't long before I discovered the world of coaching. And I said, oh, that's pretty cool because I'm kind of a coach right now in my career, but this would be something that I could be passionate about, you know, because I didn't have that in my career. And I wanted more purpose. Like there was zero purpose. I wasn't helping anyone but myself. And, you know, so I saw coaching as a great opportunity for that. So I became a life coach. And then what happened? Then it just unfolded from there. I started really, so somewhere in that journey, I decided for 1 month, I'm going to meditate and journal every single day. Very, very small, you know, a couple minutes a day. I was spending, I think I did 3 minutes of meditation or like 5 minutes for like first thing in the morning every day, you know, so started really small, but it changed my life so quickly that I was like, oh, wow, there's really something here. I started noticing my anxiety was going away. I was like finding flow, and I was like, this is a whole new life. Like I just thought if you want to be a successful person, you have to be stressed out. Like you're going to have anxiety. This is just what it is. And it's just not that way at all. So from there, I started teaching meditation. Then I got into breathwork. Then I became a breathwork facilitator, which is what I do now. I have a podcast called Untethered Soul that I started somewhere along the journey. And and now my life is hosting events for women. I do a lot of local events that are, you know, I teach breathwork locally and I host retreats. And it's just so crazy because when I picked up that book, The Secret, I would have never ever dreamed that this life would be possible. Like back then, I would have said nope, that's literally impossible. So it's been a journey for sure.
Amazing. I love hearing these stories of when you first discover, like say a book like The Secret, or you first discover the law of attraction and how much it really does impact and change your life. And it just provides that proof for anybody else listening that it is possible for you too, you know, like there's so many people that have done it and achieved it. And I also love that you picked up on, you know, the fact that previously you were so in that masculine. And you know what, for me as well, like I totally feel that. Like I'm a very, very high achieving woman. A lot of my audience are high achieving women, you know, and we're actually probably more naturally inclined to that masculine because we're just very much like, yes, I've got this goal, I want to achieve it, let's fucking do it. And I love that energy, but that energy needs to be healed in us too, because, you know, as you said, the meditation, I used to find that so difficult. Like I used to find meditating so hard. And it was just because my mind and my nervous system was just on repeat all the time. But that I have to say, for me as well, that's one of the biggest things that's really connected me back, and a huge difference in my life, like being able to be successful in this feminine. and know that you don't have to work hard. You know, you don't have to work hard to achieve the levels of success that you see that you've achieved and that I've achieved, and that, you know, is possible. So I love that. Whereabouts, like, you know, so obviously with getting into the breath work, like at what point in the journey did you really discover breath work, and how has breath work really impacted your life?
Yeah. So like when you were saying that meditation was so hard at first, I mean, I felt the same way. Our minds were just completely, that's what happens at the start of the journey. I think for everyone, you sit down to meditate, and it's so foreign. We're used to being distracted with noise 24/7, music in the car, podcast while we're on a walk, you know, constantly looking at our phones. I mean, to be sitting in just silence, very uncomfortable. So I found it interesting because when I discovered breathwork, which was pretty early on the journey, I you know, started going to breathwork workshops and just really for myself healing things through breathwork, and really finding it cool, how it's kind of like trippy. But I remember thinking it's so interesting because breathwork seems like the next step after meditation, but really it should come first, because when you do breath work, it shuts off the default mode network of the brain. So that's the chatterbox. That's like the monkey mind. Like you kind of hear sometimes, it's the never ending, just incessant voice in your head that just won't shut the fuck up. So doing breath work before meditation, that's what a beginner would really benefit from, because it just kind of eases you in. It relaxes you. It calms your nervous system. It gets you into a relaxed state, and then you can be still. And so I think it's really, that's one of the things that made me want to start teaching breathwork, is because I had so many people in my audience who were beginners of meditation or who were avoiding meditation because of this. So I love to share it for that reason. But when I started doing breath work, I don't know, 5 days a week or so, I do like an energy session before my meditation. And it's very much just like cleansing and just pumping through. And I only do like 10 minutes of that before my meditation. It's very minimal that I typically do. And then other days I'll do like the longer ones that are, you know, like the conscious connected breath work, where you're laying down for 30, 45 minutes and you're just going through this whole like trippy journey. But on like a normal work day, I'll do 10, 15 minutes of the energy breath work. And when I started doing this regularly, man, it really took everything to the next level for me, with like just being centered and being able to be in the present moment every day. And I mean, surrender is a really important thing to me. You know, I've had to surrender to a lot, especially during my entrepreneurial journey, the ups and downs, the crazy income fluctuations, the, you know, going through the process of learning how to detach from the numbers on Instagram and the followers and the engagement and, you know, critics and, you know, just so much learning to surrender. I feel like that's such an important part of the whole process, because then you can be present and you can then take what comes and you take more focused action when you're not just scattered and all over the place. So I would say that was the biggest thing for me with breathwork, is just allowing me to just feel grounded and centered and just releasing so much. Like I feel like when I was, before I knew anything about any of this, I knew that I had a lot of anger inside of me. You know, I didn't really know why, but I knew that I had anger, and I didn't know about repressed emotions. I didn't know any of that, but I felt that. And I think a lot of people do, who are on the outside, who have never listened to this kind of a podcast, you know, maybe they're tuning in for the first time. Hi guys. But you feel that you have this inside, the sadness or this pain or this anger, and you know it's in there. Breathwork is a really powerful way to slowly pull that out of you. And so when you do it for a long time, feels like that's gone. And then it becomes difficult to be triggered, because triggers are just something rubs up against something that's inside of you. And when you've shed a lot of the things that are inside of you, then it's like when you get pissed off at something, or like, and it's like whoa, what's going on? I haven't seen this in a while. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, this is exactly like, in fact, I'm actually going through some deeper healing myself at the moment. I started at the start of this year. I've been really working on some things spiritually myself, opening up my third eye and stuff like that. And I'm actually doing some energy clearing sessions at the moment, which kind of incorporate breath work. But it is so that there's so much trauma stored in your body that you are not even aware of, and there's only so much of the mindset work that you can do until you need to get to the deep energetic places. And because, for example, in my academy, we go through, like, the mindset work is just one section of it, and then we're working on like the energetics and stuff like breath work is stuff that I promote within my academy, because if you really want to get to the deep clearing, if you really want to become that open channel to receive, if we talk about manifesting, we talk about manifesting the life of your dreams. Like, you really want to receive that, you've got to have that space inside. And I feel what you've said is just, it just reinforces that. It's just clearing, releasing all of that stuff that you didn't even really know you had inside. Like, you don't even really know that it's stored there. And also what you said about surrender, because that is the final part of the manifestation process, and it's literally the hardest part for a lot of people. Especially if I again talk about my acting career, there's so many amazing souls that I coach that are still sitting there going, where's my job? Why isn't it here yet? And it's just being able to surrender to that. When you do tap into that, that's when it comes in at speed. But as you say, I think this is a beautiful practice to get into that place. And it's amazing to hear how, it's impacted your life in that way. I wanted to ask you, like, because you've mentioned a few times, like, it's quite trippy. I wanted to ask you kind of what the experience is when you go into a deep breathwork session, and maybe as well, like, some of the science behind it.
Yeah, totally. So when you're doing a deep breathwork session, like the conscious connected breathwork, you alter your consciousness. So it's kind of a trip. It has some psychological similarities to a psychedelic journey, such as with like psilocybin mushrooms. It has some similarities, and it's like a mild version, right? But it's really, obviously the psychedelics have their own healing medicine as well. So part of that is because both of those healing modalities shut off the default mode network. So it takes you into a different state where you don't have that. It's a kind of, your ego, your personality, your perception, your normal perspective, where you have all these opinions and all these constant judging everything, and just the way that we are, that's kind of removed. And then what you have there is like more of your subconscious. So that's where a lot of changes can be made. So basically, starting from the beginning, for people who aren't aware of how we store those emotions on that cellular level in our bodies. So, throughout our lives, we go into fight or flight mode all the time. It could be severe childhood trauma, or it could be a stressful email, or it could be a friend that you have to have some uncomfortable conversation that you're avoiding, right? Those things alter our nervous system, put us in fight or flight, and very frequently we freeze in that mode. We don't process the emotions. We don't cry when we need to cry most of the time, because we're at work, or we just want to hide our emotions. When I was in the masculine hustle mode, I saw emotions as weakness, so I was constantly like trying not to cry in the bathroom at work. I couldn't, there's times when you also just can't process your emotions. So we hide our anger, we shove it inside, we use food and alcohol and anything we can get our hands on, TV, social media, to avoid feeling what we're feeling. So all of those emotions, it's neuropeptides is kind of like the more scientific way of explaining that thought turned into matter that gets stored in our body. So we have a lot of shit stored in our bodies, right? Energetically at a deep level. And so when we're doing the breath work, it taps into that, and it helps to kind of shake it up. It's like shaking up that energetic level and releasing it. That's why sometimes in these sessions, you might cry, you might feel anger. For me, it's often like laughter. which is also a coping mechanism for trauma, right? So it comes up in different ways. But the beautiful thing is that you're not regressing back to that memory. So you might have had childhood trauma that's stored in you. You don't need to relive it during breath work. So it's not going to be something like that. It's a pleasurable experience. Like it's trippy because you're laughing or you're crying or you're shaking, or people have visions. I'm not visual, but people that will have visions or see colors or see whatever. Yeah. So it's always different. And then after this kind of experience happens, you feel very elated. Like for me, it's like ecstatic and like I'm floating on a cloud, and it's similar to a psychedelic trip, even if it's like a bad trip, right? Which there are bad trips where something actually bad happens, and there are trips where you go through a difficult journey where you maybe are expressing some emotions and healing, and it's not actually bad, but it's uncomfortable.
But it feels uncomfortable.
But you're always happy it happened. You're always like, that's a weight off my shoulders. Like I let something go. So it's kind of hard to explain because it is always different. It's always different. And and then it just peels away at those stuck emotions inside of you. And when you couple doing breath work with, in your everyday life, allowing yourself to experience your emotions, when you stop telling yourself your emotions are bad or dangerous or need to be avoided, when you just take a moment, when you're like about to turn on the TV or grab a glass of wine or go to your phone, and you just take a moment to say, what am I feeling inside? Am I avoiding something? Let me feel it. When you practice feeling your emotions, you realize they aren't so scary, and they're actually safe to be felt. And once you feel them, you can let them go. Man, that coupled with breath work is just so life-changing.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the science behind it is so interesting. What you were saying there about feeling, it's one of the biggest things I advocate to all my whole audience is just feel. I mean, my phrase is feel the fucking feelings. Like, we're human, and so often, we layer emotion on top of emotion. Let's say we're sad about something, and then we get frustrated that we're sad about it, and then we get angry that we're frustrated, and and we're just layering these emotions. But if we actually just felt the emotion we felt in the moment that we felt it, you actually move through it with way more speed. And so I really like the concept that I totally agree with. I'm always the first person to say, like, it looks like online I've got my shit together, but I tell you, like, the amount of times I've been on my bedroom floor crying over something, or or being angry about something, just feeling is so important. And as you say, all of that is cleared out when you do this breath work. It's also interesting when you were saying about you see things, because I have experienced before, and actually, as I say, the energy clearing work I'm doing at the moment is slightly different to what you do, but I did like literally channel a past life when I was doing it, and that's a whole other story. But like, there's so much that can come up for you when you really commit to this work, so it's really exciting. So I mean, you've kind of covered this. This is kind of my next question, but you've kind of covered it a lot. But again, how would you say it really helps us heal? Like, obviously it's clearing this out of our system. How does that then contribute to us? Let's say, because obviously this is what I do in terms of manifestation. How does that help you manifest? Like, if you've cleared all of that out, as I said before, you've made that space, so you become that open channel to receive. But in your opinion, like, how does that help you see success with the breath work?
Yeah. So I heard it, or I read it the other day in a way that I felt was really fitting. And it said, the trauma doesn't come up as memories, it comes up as reactions. And obviously sometimes we do have memories of trauma, but more often we have reactions to things. So we get triggered. And then this is where I say, like, back before I knew any of this, I knew that I had anger inside of me because I would be constantly triggered and reactive, like very temporal. I don't know the word for that.
Yeah.
But I had a temper.
Yeah.
Like I would freak out about things. So when we're triggered, right? In relationships, getting in fights, you know, your mom or your aunt or your friend says something and it just like pisses you off. And that's not really natural. Like that's not the way that it needs to be. So our reactions to things, our triggers, those are very distracting, very energy consuming. They will derail us from our manifestations and from taking our aligned inspired action, from moving through fear. Like that's just a bunch of freaking distractions is what I would say. So that's why it's so important to do this clearing work. When you start to clear out all that unnecessary garbage inside of you, then you're not reactive to things. So then when you're, I don't know, let's say maybe you have an online business and you're launching a program, or you're applying for new jobs and you're going on interviews and you're negotiating yourself. So you're going to be dealing with things, right, that are uncomfortable, that are scary. You're not sure what you should do. Do I do the easy thing or do I do the hard thing? Do I take that risk, right? Manifestation to me, like, and success comes to those who are willing to take risks.
Totally.
That feel aligned, that feel exciting. And when you are in the face of a risk and you aren't reactive to things and you are a clear channel and you just feel focused, it's much easier to say, well, here's the risk I'm taking. I'm going to take it. Let's do it.
Yes.
Versus when you're in this mode of you're living through fear and you have all these things can trigger you so easily. It becomes much easier to surrender and know that you're going to be okay no matter what the outcome is of that risk when you've cleared out all of that crap inside of you. Yes. So like you were saying earlier, how with like the surrender is the hardest part, and I totally agree. And I think so many people come from the masculine side because our society really pushes the masculine, especially here in the US. It's like hustle, 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 hustle. That's how you'll be successful. Do this and this and this. So we come from the masculine, we're rewarded for that. And the masculine is like so the opposite of surrender. Surrendering feels terrible when you're in the masculine. So when you balance out the masculine and feminine and you've let go of a lot of that emotional pain, surrender becomes a lot more natural. It's just like, okay, this is life. Things are going to happen. And I don't have to be super fucking annoyed at every single thing that happens. Yeah. So manifestation becomes a much more natural process to manifest things you actually want intentionally when we've cleared that out.
100%. You know, it really reminds me of because I've just come through with my academy, like the previous round of my academy, we just finished. And we've got like this whole huge section of shadow work, which is obviously the work that is, not going to lie, it's not always easy, right? But it is that clearing. And every single one of my clients come out of it and they go, oh my gosh, like, what did I just go through? Like, I am just a changed person from this shadow work, from this clearing, from this unblocking. And another point on, you know, this masculine and feminine as well, it actually came up in my academy the other day. I often talk, I like my language online and stuff. Like I will often talk about being a bad bitch, right? Because I associate myself as being a bad bitch. But there's also like these associations with that word that it kind of suggests that you're quite masculine. Like you are that bad bitch CEO that's going to make all that money, that's going to, you know, call in all that success. And to me, that feels quite masculine. And as I know myself, like I'm very much in that space and I work harder at my feminine. But what we kind of spoke about was this perspective that actually, you know, part of being a bad bitch is being freaking feminine. It's being in that energy of surrender, of love for yourself, of flow. That's part of being a bad bitch. And when, you know, I spoke to my clients about it, they were like, oh yeah, like I feel that more, because so many of them have been working so hard as well at really healing their feminine. And as you say, breathwork is just such a gorgeous practice to be doing to help you tap into that, because it is surrender. Like you are surrendering to the process in the middle of a breathwork session. Like you're surrendering to where you're going to in those places, which is fascinating. I find everything to do with breathwork so fascinating. And it is really a concept that I hadn't heard about until it was probably only about a year ago, really, where I really started to do research on it and understand it a lot more. And it's something, as I say, I've done like a number of times, but not obviously to the point where you're at with you. Do you train people now? Is that part of your service, or did I see that wrong? Do you train people in it?
I do. Yeah. And like you said, I mean, yeah, I had never heard of this. I mean, where is this? Where, like, how can everyone not know that there is a completely holistic, safe, natural way to heal your trauma using your breath? I mean, it's crazy to me that no one knows about this.
Yeah.
Although it's rising in popularity along with meditation and all the spiritual things in general. I think in the holistic things are definitely rising. But yeah, a big part of my mission is to train other people to be breathwork facilitators so that the message can be spread, so I have a program called Heal Breathwork Academy, and it's 5 weeks, and you get trained on the science, the psychology, the marketing, how to put yourself out there as a breathwork facilitator. And yeah, I mean, I teach at yoga studios, and I do a lot of in person as well as online. Yeah. So I kind of, it's a big part of my mission. But it's funny because when you were saying like the bad bitch energy is like masculine, I think of like a queen, and like a queen delegates. Like a queen is like in charge of, you know what I mean? So yes, she's a bad bitch, but she delegates, and she has to protect her energy and like do her things for herself,
I love that so much. That's what I see when I say that word bad bitch. That's exactly what I see. It's this queen who's like, she's able to surrender. She's able to, like you say, delegate. Like, for example, for me, like on a business sense, I've got my assistant who, when I first, hired her, there was a lot of my feminine that needed to be healed in that, because, as a business owner, like your business is your baby. And so like, to be delegating and handing over responsibility in that sense, has to be that surrender, and trust. So I see that queen. Just one of the thing, because I noticed that you sell a journal as well, a little journal, and I just wondered, where did that come about, and just a bit about that as well.
Yeah, so journaling was one of the first things that I started doing that was really transformational. The shadow work, doing that through journaling was one of the first things I did. It started to help me see that I had all these limiting beliefs and how to like rewrite them. That's like been so transformational for me, and with my business and everything in my life. So yeah, something that I do with my clients is every time we have a call, I send them personalized journaling prompts. It's like always been a huge part of what I do. Yeah. So just this past November, I self-published the Heal Your Shit Journal. It's on Amazon Prime. Just like walks you through the process of journaling out limiting beliefs, shadow work, forgiveness, but then also just like a ton of kind of just different journaling prompts. Because a lot of people say to me, Leah, I want to start journaling, but I don't know where. I'm staring at this blank journal. What do I do? So I was like, I'm going to publish a journal. Yes, and, people can be guided through the process.
Yeah, I love that so much, because I am a huge journaler. Like, and we're all different. And, some of my clients, they like to voice note themselves. Like, that's just another way of getting it out there. But I love journaling. Like, I'm obsessed. And again, it's one of the comments I always get from anybody passing through my own academy, is that there's just a ton like there's just a ton that you can be diving into for yourself. And so I love that. I noticed that, and I love that you've published that. It's fantastic. Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this morning, and thank you for getting up so early and being on the podcast with me. I really hope that this has provided like a great insight for a lot of people on breathwork, and I do really encourage everybody to go and check Lee out. Lee, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm at It's Leah Pardee, the Bare Naked Soul podcast. If you type my name in anywhere, you'll find something that I've created pretty much. I also have the Breath Portal, which is my monthly membership program for breathwork. So there's like an unlimited library of videos. I add new ones every month. You can come to the live sessions too, all for $27 a month. There's everything from 10 minutes, there's like a lot of 10, 12-minute videos, as well as hour-long sessions. So really gives you, if people want to take breathwork deeper, like if they want to make it a consistent part of their ritual and routine, this is a great way to have your hands on like a whole library of sessions.
Amazing. And I will, of course, link everything in the show notes. I'll link your Instagram and I'll link your website in the show notes for everybody to go and check out. But Lee, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll be back in touch. We may even have the opportunity of crossing over and me being on your amazing podcast as well, which would be fantastic. But just thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was so fun.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who you think would love it too. And if you want to let me know how you found it, just screenshot this episode, add it to your Instagram story, and tag me at I am Jessica Paul so that I can throw all the love right back at you. And of course, subscribe, hit those 5 stars, and leave a review to show your support and to keep the good stuff coming. Sending you so much love and gratitude from your girl, Jess.